Hello guys, how you going? Screezilla here, I hope you are all well. Welcome to the first episode of History of Vehicles in War Thunder with me, Screezilla. Going to be doing a bit of a show really here about some of the history of the vehicles in the game War Thunder, mainly using them as a device to basically show you the vehicle. It's quite handy, it's a good tool to show off some of the vehicles. Gives it, well, it's just a nice little option to have. So in this series, I'm going to try my best not to be boring. This is one of the harder things, and I'm going to try and give you some details and some history about some of the planes, some of the tanks here in the game. And I'm starting off with one of my favourite vehicles, the Fairey Swordfish. As you can see here, it's the biplane. It's a British bomber, Tier 1 British bomber. It's probably the best bomber, I'd say probably the best bomber to try and learn bombing in, because it's a good mid-altitude bomber. It's not fast, it's easy to fly, it's very stable, plus it's good to learn with. You carry 1,000 pounds bombs, 1,000 pounds of bombs on board, so you can do a fair bit of damage. The other thing is you can also carry some torpedoes. First little thing about in-game here is the main thing is, in the cockpit view, it's pretty hard to see on the Swordfish. One of the big flaws in the plane was it wasn't the best view from a plane. As you can see, it's cluttered with tethers and wings and poles and stabilizers. It's not a great view. So that's one of the downsides of the plane, but unless you play sim battles, you don't generally play the cockpit view. Some people may have realistic battle, all the power to you, but this plane is easy to fly in third person with for sure. So I'm on a replay here of a flight, just so I can talk a bit easier. I also use my mouse pointer to point things out. So here I'm actually doing a dive bomber with the Swordfish. The Swordfish was actually a very capable dive bomber, as well as being a very good torpedo striker, reconnaissance plane, things like that. The Swordfish, or the string bag, as it was affectionately known, from its crews, not because of all the strings and tethers and cables as you saw in the cockpit view and all the bits between the wings, the actual tethers to the tail and things like that. It was known as a string bag because it could carry anything. Much like a housewife's string shopping bag, common at the time, which could accommodate contents of any shape. The crews felt the Swordfish, like the shopping bag, could carry anything, and that it did. Later Swordfish variants actually ended up carrying things like rockets. They were used as radar planes, things like that. Here we have the Swordfish killing a plane. The Swordfish is not the best fighter aircraft, but I got lucky and got a pilot strike on somebody there. But it is pretty durable. That's one of the main things. It does take a bit of a beating. Now, the Swordfish, as you can see, has a crew of 3. So you've got your pilot, your observer, and your gunner. Now, the main thing to do is train up with crew skills. Train your pilot to have some vitality, as well as your gunner. Also add weapon maintenance, because that's going to make it a lot easier as a bomber pilot, because it means your bombs fly straighter, get less spread. It also means your guns jam less, things like that, so it's really handy. This is, I'm taking a hammering from some of the flak, but still fighting on, valiantly. So the Swordfish was a pretty old plane when it came into service. It came into service in the 1930s. In 1936 was when it was first used in service. It actually finished service in 1944, but truly 1945. VE Day was the day it was actually out of commission. There was 2,391 of them made throughout the war, 692 by Fairey, and 169, or 1,699, sorry, by Blackburn, another aviation company. That had the Shark and the something else, I can't remember the name of the other plane. But yeah, Blackburn had quite a few planes actually in the world in World War II. It was powered by a Bristol Pegasus engine. It was a rotary 9-cylinder engine, single row air cooled. What that means is the air goes through it, cools it. It doesn't have any pumping or anything like that, so it doesn't overheat from like the water and stuff. It hasn't got water cooling or anything like that. It is purely air. So you've got to be careful using with this engine overheating, because it can overheat quite a bit. Because there's no sort of water cooling system to it, it can overheat quite quickly. Now you can see I've got a bit of damage here, and that's going to come into effect a little bit later on. So it can produce around about 690 horsepower, this engine, which is a fair whack when you consider the plane itself empty, sort of empty weight was 4,195 pounds, so 1,900 kilograms, so not that much all in all, quite a light plane. Because it was a metal skinned body with canvas and also wood for some parts of it, it was very lightweight, which did help a lot. It wasn't the fastest plane though. Now, the max speed of the plane is 242 miles per hour. In-game. In real life it was about 150 miles per hour, but that was latent with a torpedo. You get a max G of about +4, -3, so you can get a +G and +4, -3 Gs, so you've got to be a bit careful not to put too many Gs on this plane, because it will get quite a bit of damage coming in. So the other thing is the turn time. Now, the turn time is pretty rough on this. It's 33.25 seconds. But the thing is that's a turn time, a slow turn. You can actually turn much faster using a bit of a dive. Because it is a biplane, it has a lot of lift, which means it's got a very slow stalling speed, so you can keep up in the air for a long time. Now, it has two guns, both Vickers machine guns in War Thunder. It has the 303 7.7mm Vickers machine guns in the upper right fuselage section. Now, you can actually see it when you're inside the cockpit. You can see just on the right hand side there's actually a machine gun. The pilot would operate that during flight, change ammunition or fix jabs. So it's reflated in the cockpit. And then there's a 7.7 303 Vickers machine gun on the rear, which is operated by your gunner. Now, that gun it's not the best gun in the game. You tend not to do much damage unless you kill a pilot. As you can see here on the inside, I've been hit quite badly, firing the machine gun, trying to do some damage to that American plane there, not having much luck. He's got 50 cals, I've got 303s. This is not going to end well for me. But the main thing of this plane is its bombing capability and its torpedoes. So it can carry a nice load of 1,000 pounds of bombs, which is four 250-pound bombs, and carries them under the wings, or it can carry one 18-inch Mark 17 torpedo, sorry, and that goes underneath the fuselage, and that torpedo is really good. Now, later models of this plane actually carry rockets that carry up to 60-pounders, RB3 rockets, and also it can carry mines underneath it. It can carry 1,500-pound mine underneath its fuselage, which would drop into the water, and any unlucky ship that came across it would go bang. So the primary use of the Swordfish was actually in the Royal Navy, but it also had some service in the Royal Air Force, Royal Canadian Air Force, and the Royal Lebanese Navy as well. The Swordfish was a plane, as I said. It was actually invented to take over a plane that was in Greece at the time, the Fairey Mark IIIF and Mark IIIB, which was in service of the Greek Navy at the time. Now, they wanted a new plane, so they came up to Fairey and said, let's build a new plane. So the Swordfish was born. They pulled out, but Fairey saw an opportunity, went up to the English Navy, and the English Navy ended up ordering quite a few with the Air Ministry. They saw their work and decided to order the planes. So the first prototype TSR plane flew in 1934. Now TSR stands for Torpedo Spotter Reconnaissance Aircraft, because originally it was going to be a reconnaissance spotter aircraft. Now, in 1935, those orders were placed, and 1936, with the Fleet Air Arm, then part of the RAF, replacing both Fairey Seal in squadron reconnaissance roles and the Blackburn Baffin torpedo bomber and Blackburn Shark in a combined role. There are also Swordfish equipped with floats for the use on ships, basically. So as you can see here, I'm actually having issues with my engine, so I'm trying to cool it off a little bit to get home. So the main thing with that was it was equipped with a float, so it could be launched off of a ship, off of a catapult system. Now, with that, one of the main things that was put on was HMS Warspite, and it was sent up, and it was used to use radio to tell where the guns were formed, to help spot for the guns of the battleship. Because they were firing over the horizon, they needed something higher up, so the Swordfish was used for that initially. Now, the Swordfish also spotted a U-boat in 1940 during the Second Battle of Navik, and subsequently it sank the U-boat U-64, and it did a torpedo run while it was in harbour and managed to sink it, and it was the first U-boat sunk in World War II, and the first by a plane, I believe. First submarine sunk by a plane. Now, by the end of the war, Swordfish on the merchant fleet, merchant navy, Fleet Air Arm, and the Dutch Navy, who were also part of the merchant fleet, gained 16 U-boat kills, which is pretty good. A pretty high kill percentage for U-boats, a very tricky target indeed. Now, one of the main battles for the Swordfish was actually at the Italian port of Taranto, a raid that actually inspired Pearl Harbor. And as you see, I'm coming in from land here, pulling up, dropping down, getting low altitude, spinning around a little bit, flipping around the wings just to lose some speed. Now, the Royal Navy launched the first all-aircraft ship-to-ship naval attack in history, employing a small number of the Fairey Swordfish biplanes carried by HMS Illustrious in the Mediterranean. The attack struck the battle fleet of the Italian Navy at anchor in the harbour of Taranto. Using aerial torpedoes, despite it being quite a shallow port, they actually managed to get the torpedoes off using a very low-level flying technique and pulling up at the last moment, so the torpedo didn't dive too much. They managed to get a devastating strike on a couple of the warships. The first wave, which consisted of 6 Swordfish, 3 were armed with torpedoes, and 3 were armed with bombs, ended up doing an attack on one of the main battleships and managed to get a sinking. It managed to sink the battleship Conte de Cabo, so it lost a hole inside and the ship was ruined. They also managed to take out, and it wasn't so successful, but they managed to damage the Andrea Doria and the battleship Vittorio. Battleship Vittorio Vento, it missed, but they did manage to hit some small bombs at the side. They also managed to destroy a couple of cruisers moored at Mar Piccolo, hitting both with single bombs from 15,000 feet. One aircraft, despite being hit twice by anti-aircraft fire, aimed a torpedo at Vittorio Vento, but the torpedo missed. Another aircraft hit the battleship Caio di Diello, with a torpedo blowing a large hole in her hull, and flooding in both forward magazines. Unfortunately, 2 aircraft were lost on this. One aircraft, all crews were killed. One aircraft, the crew survived and were taken into captivity for the rest of the war. Now, according to Admiral Cunningham, Tarantino and the night of November 11th, the 11th of the 12th, 1940, should be remembered forever as having shown once and for all the Fleet Air Arm, the Navy has its most devastating weapon, and that was the Fairey Swordfish, the planes. In the aftermath, the Japanese naval attachment from Berlin visited Taranto. he later briefs after he planned the attack on Pearl Harbor. They used similar techniques as to what was used on Taranto. So this is pretty much the birthing of Pearl Harbor. Now, one of the cool things about the Swordfish was when it was made, you can see here there's a line, and the wings actually fold back on the Swordfish for storage in the aircraft carriers. So that's why there's a big dinner across the top there, also to help the pilot, but mainly for the fact that it folds. Sort of cool little thing there. Next we'll get on to the story of the Bismarck. I'm sure most of you know this one already. In May 1941, the Swordfish participated in the pursuit of the sinking of battleship Bismarck. On the 25th of May, 9 Swordfish were launched from HMS Victorious, attacked the Bismarck, scoring 1 torpedo hit, but only minor damage. On May 26th, Royal launched 2 Swordfish strikes against the Bismarck. The first failed to find the Bismarck. The second struck and scored 2 hits, one of which jammed the Bismarck's rudder with a 15-degree port helm on list, so it was stuck turning in circles. This made the Bismarck going around in circles and unable to escape to France. It sank after a intense Royal Navy attack within 13 hours. Now, the low speed of the attacking aircraft may have acted in their favour. As the planes were too slow for the fire control predictions for German gunners, they were firing too far ahead because they expected them to go faster. The shells would explode far in front of the aircraft, and the shrapnel wouldn't hit the aeroplanes. This made a huge difference. At least some of the Swordfish flew so low as well that the Bismarck's flak weapons could not press enough to hit them, so they were flying very much on the surface of the water. Now, the downfall of the plane. One of the major problems with the aircraft was demonstration in February 1942 during the Channel Dash. 6 Swordfish led by Lieutenant Commander Eugene Esmond attacked the German battleships Charon-Ost and Gneisenau. I do apologise about my pronunciation, resulting in the loss of all aircraft with no damage to the ships. Lack of fighter coverage was a contributing factor to this. They were promised around about 80 fighters. They only got 10. So yeah, it made a huge difference there. 13 of the 18 crews of the 18 crews of the Swordfish were killed. Esmond, who had led the attack on the Bismarck, was awarded the Victoria Cross posthumously, unfortunately. He died during the attack, the guy that scored the hit on the Bismarck. But he did get it, sadly, after he was gone. One of the sad parts of war. The courage of the Swordfish crews was noted by the commanders on both sides. British Vice Admiral Bertram Ramsay later wrote, in my opinion, the gallant sortie of these 6 Swordfish aircraft constitutes one of the finest examples of self-sacrifice and devotion to duty the war had ever witnessed. Now, just here you can see my engine is damaged. I can't get any power from her, so I'm doing a emergency landing here. Shooting way ahead of that tank, missing it terribly. I'm trying to take down a few tanks in this area because I am about to crash land in one of these fields. Also, the German Vice Admiral Otto Klerks remarked on the mothball attack of a handful of ancient planes, piloted by men whose bravery surpassed any other actions by either side that day. He actually petitioned to get some of the men bravery awards as well. The end of days, towards the end of the war, number 119 Squadron of the RAF operated Swordfish Mark IIIs fitted with centromatic radar from the airfields in Belgium. Their main task was to hunt at night for German midget submarines in the North Sea and off the Dutch coast. The radar was able to detect ships at a range of about 25 miles, so they used to use them basically to fly above the ships, and then the English battleships would use them to basically bounce radar off them and find ships in the darkness and be able to hit them with their guns. So that is the Swordfish all in all. A fascinating plane, a fantastic plane, and a very durable one at that in game. Now, as you see here, I have gone down after a gallant effort. I know I've lost a wing, but she's still okay. It's only a flesh wound. 'Tis but a flesh wound. come back here, I'll give you a nasty nip. The swordfish does not die very easily, because of the canvas, because of the fact that it's so lightweight and no armour. Bullets have a very hard time exploding on it, so explosive rounds tend to go through it. You'll get hit by a tank shell, it'll go straight through, there'll just be a hole and nothing else. One of the main flaws of the plane in the game is if you do play in tank RB, you will find that tanks find you an easy target at low altitude, so keep altitude and dive on them. With attacking ships, just be careful, because again, they tend to have an advantage because you are so slow. Because the anti-aircraft in the game is a bit OP, you do tend to find that you get quite a lot hitting you. So I'm just creeping up on this tank here with my tail gunner. I'll do a bit of shooting at him while I'm here. You know, just get something done on the ground, become a tank, so to say. But yeah, it is a very fragile plane sometimes, but at the same time it's also quite a strong plane. You will get quite a good game out of it, and as you've seen, it is possible to kill other planes with this plane. It's not just a weak, easy target. You do put up a good fight, and you can actually dish out some vengeance on other planes, because they tend to overshoot you. You can use your speed to your advantage, or lack of speed. So yeah, the Swordfish is a great plane if you're starting out on bombing. Any nation, it's a good plane to learn in, because you will just get that sort of balance of sort of going, okay, so I know what I can and can't do. You'll start to learn how to hit targets. The bomber view is very handy in this plane. You also get a bomber radial on the floor as well, so you can see that too in third person. But I tend to use bomber sights on bases. You'll take out about 3/4 of a base's damage, 3/4 of the base's health, so you can actually do quite a lot of damage to a base, but you will need somebody else to help kill it. As you can see here, there's some floating tanks and floating artillery just scooching around, as it so often does. But it is a really good plane to learn in, and it is a fascinating plane at that. I do wish I'd had the Mark III in so we could have some rockets on these things, but, well, I don't think that'll happen. The Mark III also had an enclosed canopy, so it did look a bit different. Seems to be a soldier here. Seems to be a German. Let's run him over. Take that, Fritz. So yeah, so that is the Fairey Swordfish. And I hope you found this interesting, guys. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please like, comment and subscribe, and I'd really love some useful feedback on this one. If you want to give some feedback, if you want to tell stories of your swordfish exploits, or just tell any stories of the swordfish itself, please do in the comments below. Please subscribe, because as I say, there will be more of these videos coming up soon. Hopefully in the next couple of weeks I'll be doing another one. They won't be regular at the moment, but they will be coming soon. So the swordfish is taking a bit of punishment here, a little bit of fire, lost a wing, lost his tail. That's okay, we're still alive, we're still fine, 'tis but a scratch, and we managed to smoke him up. All in all, good little effort from the swordfish there. My pilot and gunner are dead. Somehow I'm still alive. Technically, it hasn't jaded me out of the plane, because my midshipman, the navigator, is still alive apparently. So that's handy. But yeah, please like, comment, subscribe, and I hope to speak to you all soon. And I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you very much. This is Greasy out.